Okay, so this would be a feedback slash critique for future beats. Um, we've talked before. You know the drill, man. I'm just a nerd who likes Tekken, and I like Paul. He's really fun. Take what I say with a grain of salt, but take it into consideration. Let's get right into it. All right. So like right off the bat, I think I mentioned this in the generic in the generic sort of generic tips, because I think you and I were talking about a while ago about like, hey, what the fuck do you do against Ling, right? And the moment you see Ling back turn, you just hold back. You just hold back to block and you guess the mix up, right? Most of the time, they're gonna do the kick she does now, right? Right there. Back turn 3 is very evasive, very annoying, and launch punishable, right? Practice recognizing the animation between the launch punishable version and the -12 version, right? They're not that similar, but if you're not familiar and in the heat of the match, right, you can lose out on a lot of damage and consistent punishment. Being able to discern when she's going for the launch punishable one versus the still punishable but, you know, safer-ish one is going to net you a lot of free damage, right? This Ling is very aggressive. They're very on the offensive with their mix-ups, and as annoying as Ling is, right, they're still high risk, high reward mix-ups to some degree, right? They're not doing the really annoying stuff like with down back 2, because that move is fucking godlike, right? So I will try to point out generic advice, but I'm not really going to go into that much like matchup knowledge in detail. That stuff you can cover yourself when you know, just hitting the lab, hitting a punishment guide. There's plenty of those out there about what the fuck are Ling's moves and how punishable are they, etc., etc. So I'll try to focus more on just kind of like, hey, you're in this situation. What is your best bet? What can you do? And the thing about it is that when Ling is back turned, you just hold back, right? There's nothing Paul has that's going to be able to effectively shut down back turn, except after Cali roll. But we'll talk about that later. So this matchup is going to be very, very tight-knit, right? You want to be this kind of like immovable wall, and Ling just has to keep throwing herself at you, and it can be tricky, it can be annoying, right? AOP is very annoying. But more often than not, your plethora of solid pokes, damage on your openings, right, are going to be able to do more against Ling. It's unfortunate that you don't have walls to work with in this stage, right? But it's like, it could be a better thing because Ling has a fucking stupid pseudo infinite on walled stages, but you know, let's not get into that. So let's continue. Let's keep going. Right here, right? When she did that, immediately you should just do core circle forward 3, maybe forward 2, but I think because of how weird how low her body is, you might have whiffed, right? Just do core circle forward 3, call it a day, and move on to the next situation, right? Forward 4, trooper roll is too slow, right? You have to preemptively do it, or you have to do it on their wake up, right? It's more of an Oki tool than it really is like this, or you just have the hardest read and you're like, they're gonna go low and I'm gonna do super huge call out move, right? Forward 4 is like 28 frames, like almost 30 frames, right? It's a bit faster than I anticipated, but you're still looking at like 27 frames, right? It's 27 frames startup, 23 frames is when its jumping status is 13 frames. To put it into perspective, when you hop kick, right, you're looking at a move with 15 frames of startup and it low crushes, meaning you enter that jumping status at frame 9, right? It's going to be a lot easier to hit. The problem is Paul's hop kick hitbox against these types of situations is kind of awkward, right? Like you're no Claudio. Shredder helps a little bit. You can gamble on there, but we're veering off. Don't use forward 4. right? You have to have like the hardest read, and more often than not, you're putting yourself in a much more disadvantageous position, right? It's very linear. They can easily sidestep, and the moment you're on your side against Ling, it's a nightmare scenario, right? She can just launch you 9 million ways. Or, right, you look at something like there you do trooper roll, and then you just get hit out of it like now because it's so slow, right? You have to your first goal, right, is to slow down the pace of the match against this Ling, right? Because you don't want this Ling to start throwing buttons left and right against you. You're not gonna be able to. I'm assuming your matchup knowledge isn't, you're not well versed in the Ling matchup knowledge, right? So you focus more on whenever she overextends, you go for a whiff punish with down 1, with 3-2, with corsical forward 3, right? Stuff like that. Without first slowing down the pace of the match, you can't use slower tools like forward 4, right? You can't use trooper roll because the opponent's going to be throwing so many buttons, you're more likely to get hit out of it than anything. And then all of a sudden, you're on your ground against Ling with crazy ass Oki, right? So focus more on that. Don't focus on using these big call out moves, right? Just do down 1, do corsical forward 3, do 3. Don't commit to 3-2 unless you have the whiff punish ready, right? But you don't want to again, as the goal should be that the Ling overextends, right? Because they poked and they keep whiffing buttons, right? And you should just be as tight knit as you can be, right? Because the Ling whiffing a button is going to be a lot trickier to handle, right? She can always do AOP or some other bullshit. Paul whiffing a button is more likely to lead to death, right? Because the Ling will just evade you and then launch you for pressing whatever button, right? So trying to stress here that it's more important for you to be kind of like this ironclad defense. All right. Right here, the Cali roll. So this move is called Cali roll, the one she does right now, right? Back 1-2 is not guaranteed. The best thing you can do when she's back turn is do back 1+4, right? Your throw. It's 11 frames because the thing you got to worry about is that when she's back turn, she has a parry that can do a bunch of annoying stupid shit, right? And she can't parry the throws. And because she's back turn, I don't think she can break them, right? So you have to be kind of quick on it. I would practice it first, and then if you have someone who grinds the Ling matchup, just practice with them. But practice back 1-4 throw as a punish for Cali roll. Back 1-2 is not going to be consistent. You'll find often that they can just do another one, and for some reason the startup will evade back 1-2, and then you'll just get hit out of it. So I wouldn't rely on this. It worked out now, but I think you're more consistently going to be able to get the throw as a punish than you would back 1-2. So like right here, this is what we're talking about. Be very careful when you rush in for your Oki and stuff like that, right? Because right there should have been a whiff punish on your end, right? Should have at least just done back 1-2 and then gone easy damage, because the Ling is very more likely to be pressing buttons and pressing into your offense. And that's a sign of like you gotta know when to pump the brakes on your Oki. Just rushing in and trying to apply Oki isn't going to work. One, Paul's Oki without walls is kind of ass, right? It's nothing too crazy. It's nothing amazing to write home about. And then two, it's just kind of like, okay, Oki doesn't always mean you have to constantly be in your opponent's face and applying a move, right? It can also be you have a good read on them pressing a get-up kick, and then you just whiff punish the shit out of that, right? Like right here, you could have backed out. So you get the knockdown, dash in, and then boom, that would have been a death fist, and you would have gotten free damage, right? So try to be more, try to slow down when your opponent's on the ground, and focus more on what does your opponent do when they get knocked down on the ground. Do they start pressing buttons? Do they start rolling away, right? And then mix and match your response based on that. If they stay on the ground, do corsical forward 3, do back 4, whatever, right? If they start trying to do get up kicks, right, try to bait it out by dashing in, backdash, whiff punish, stuff like that. And mix and match. There's a lot of different options you can do, but you first have to focus on what does your opponent like to do, and then tailor your offense accordingly. Nice, good reaction on the float. Unfortunate. So okay, so this is gonna happen every now and again, right? You float the Ling, but you didn't commit. This is fine, right? I'm gonna keep stressing throughout this video that, like, in this matchup and just in general with Paul, the greatest thing about Paul is that he never has to commit to shit, right? He's got all these crazy ass safe moves that you can just throw around as much as you please, right? But you have to be very judicious, because when you overcommit, especially on strings like wall standing 3-2 or 3-2, you're gonna die, right? That's just how Paul is. A lot of people know this matchup, right? So if something happens where you're not able to get a full capitalization on something like right here, this is fine, right? Just remind yourself that, like, all right, fuck, I missed it, it's whatever. Just don't overcommit and overextend, right? That should be the goal in this matchup, right? Every whiff, every overextension from the opponent is an opportunity for you, but it's also vice versa, right? Every time you overextend or whiff something, the Ling can do a bunch of annoying shit, and you don't want that. Kind of a weird decision to go for the core circle forward 3+4 and then the 3-2. That it's not a consistent launcher. To get the really consistent, to make it a launcher, it shit's really hard, like really fucking hard, right? Even Justice, the fucking Paul execution god, just it's never consistently a launcher, right? He'll do forward 2-1, right? He's got that down on fucking lockdown. But I would just go for the consistent easy damage, like doing forward 2+3, and you know, your armor move, that is a consistent follow-up after core circle forward 3+4. Off-axis hits like that, I'm not sure. But again, just stressing, like right here, if the Ling were faster in getting up, right, on that annoying like wall standing launcher or some shit, you'd be dead. All right, you'd just be dead. So you got to be careful, right? You got to know when to pump the brakes. And right here we see the issues with back 1-2, right? You try to go for the punish, and then the Ling just, if she committed to Cali roll, if she didn't just get up like normal, you would have died, right? Cali roll would have just evaded back 1-2 and you would have been launched. So again, got to be careful. Unfortunate. Okay. Okay. So okay. So be a little bit careful. This is gonna require sharp reactions, right? My opinion is don't use trooper roll, right? But if you do use trooper roll, pay attention to the block sparks here, right? Look at where the Ling is blocking the move. The earlier, the higher the block, right? So if it's like up here, you are minus. You were just straight up minus. You're still only like -1, which isn't too bad, right? But you are minus. And so doing moves here when the Ling's just going to be jabbing you like she is now, right? You're going to get head out of it. So don't commit to moves, right? But now, like, so let's say you block it, she blocks it lower, right? She blocks it, and then the block spark is, instead of all the way up above you, it's lower on the ground. You are plus, right? You're hitting in the later frames of forward 4. You're maximum like what, +5? It's pretty good, right? Then you can start pressing buttons. If you really like using trooper roll, look, I'm not going to stop you, right? I'm not going to physically come over to your house and stop and pull away the controller from you. All I can say is try to avoid using it, but if you do use it, remember to when to maximize the situations. When you get it blocked super early like this, focus more on movement, right? Like you can still sidestep the jabs and stuff. But if you get it blocked much later, like the block spark is closer to her feet or something, you're very plus, and then you can press whatever button you want, right? You'll have a huge head start. But you just gotta be careful with that. God, I love down forward too. I don't think she has a full customer, so that's fine. Right, so like right here, you see that she's only off axis like very slightly, right? She does the AOP, and it just whiffs, right? You don't even hit her out of it for a float. So this is again, like, you got to be careful with the overcommitment on AOP and on trooper roll. Like right here, oh god, if she was faster, you were dead, right? Because you're back turned. I don't think you would have had enough time to move out of it, but it's just one of those things you got to be careful. There we see AOP. Oh, she did. Right there. This is the thing you got to be aware of, right? That is a launcher. She doesn't know. So when she raises the leg super high up, launch, right? Down forward 2 is pretty consistent, but if you're worried about range, hop kick, right? Or shredders. Shredders, the combo might be weird. Practice the combo and see if it's weird. But just hop kick is fine, right? Down forward 2 has worked out for me. But you gotta become very intimately familiar with this animation, because this is your biggest opportunity here, right? This is your biggest opportunity. Even though the pushback looks a little bit weird, even in those situations I've launched her pretty well. I think it's like her hurt box is extended or something. But you gotta recognize this situation and punish it consistently, because this is your biggest opportunity, right? Even on an infinite stage, I think Paul's damage is better than Ling's, right? She's got some wonky shit, but she's typically not a high damage character. She's just an annoying, hard to pin down character. Like right here, the dash in should have just been core circle forward 3 at most. Yeah, using it there was risky. So you're gonna run to the situation a lot, right? The Ling's on the ground, they start side rolling, and you're chasing them down with a move. Just let it go and focus on just blocking, because they're very likely going to wake up with the move, and that's when you want to punish them. Yeah, this is tough. Tough. Weird. You gotta be careful with overcommitting to the down forward 1 mix-ups, because I'm pretty sure she can just, do AOP or something. But it's like fine. She picked up the combo. Way to go. Rip. Yeah, so that kick I think is the one that's -12. The little weird toe kick right there. If you block it, right? But she whiffed it, so she's able to do back turn 3, which is really fucking annoying. Unfortunate, but it's one of those situations where you just gotta slow down. Right? You're getting too caught up in her momentum and pressing into stuff, and that's the key feature of the match, is that, like, you gotta just stop pressing into stuff, right? Stop pressing into stuff and then focus more on, she's gonna be ready to overcommit. And what the fuck? Is this the one you can launch? No, okay. It's not back turn 3. So is it back turn 4? Also, watch out for back turn 3. But that's so interesting. So what the fuck is the hop kick? Yeah. Okay, so it is this move, right? Remember, so this move is -18, right? Plenty of time to hop kick, to down forward 2. Even if the block looks a little bit weird, I'm 99% sure her hurt box is extended, so you can get a consistent punish on it, right? And if you are worried, just practice the punish, right? Just get it consistently down. You see that leg raised up, just get the fuck out of there. You see the leg raised up, launch. I don't know what the move is that, like, the weird... Oh, this is actually safe, but well, let's just keep going. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so I think, weird situation to be in. She whiffed a button, she's gonna wake up, she's gonna get up back turned, right? And you're like, well, shit, this is an opportunity. You make the decision to instead go for Corsical forward 3, which I agree with, right? Because instead of doing the 3-2, as you'll find out later in the match, 3-2 back 1+2 does not work on Ling. She can get out of it very easily, right? She has back turn, even if she doesn't do back turn 4, which is her launcher, she has back turn 3, which evades the back 1+2. For when you do 3-2, you have to commit to 3-2 down 1+2. So cancel into shoulder, which should beat any option that she does, right? You just got to be careful. I like the decision here. Focus more on just a consistent low poke damage, right? It's not a hard call out move. It's not a big rewarding call out on her whiffing a button, but it's consistent damage, right? And you're doing that without overextending, which is going to be very important. So that's just something to keep in mind. Just these opportunities are going to come up. My vote is just go for the consistent damage, right? Your ability to play neutral by just blocking and punishing is going to get you way more mileage than if the Ling does it, right? So once you have the life lead, just focus on being this immovable wall. And even though it's not flashy, it's not like this big flashy kick or launch or whatever. It's consistent damage, and you're not gonna be opening yourself up to the Ling, right? And that's just my viewpoint. Don't press buttons afterwards though, especially anything high, right? Because you're neutral. You don't have a head start on her. You are neutral. So she can just as easily go into AOP and start making you whiff stuff, right? If you get the Corsical 4-3, it's a return to neutral. Accept it as that until you have a better understanding of their offense. Unfortunate. Okay, and this is another thing. So you're in a tournament, right? And you immediately go for the rematch. I'm not sure on the rules of the tournament, but my opinion, you're the loser in the round. Just go to a walled stage, right? Chasing down a Ling on an infinite stage with AOP and all this other bullshit is really fucking annoying, right? And yes, on a walled stage, Ling has her weird pseudo infinite shit, and it's really annoying. However, pound for pound, right? Infinites aside, like sure that is an annoying thing. Like she's got the back turn catch set up and all this other shit. You're gonna have a much easier time just demolishing the Ling with a good Corsical back 2 at the wall or something like that, right? Yes, if your back is against the wall and you're facing a Ling, it's kind of annoying, right? But if you have the wall advantage, right? If the Ling's back is to the wall and you're just standing there menacingly, right? So much more opportunity arises out of that, right? So, my opinion, you lost the round, whatever, that sucks, but just immediately switch to a walled stage and get that advantage. Because I think Paul's already like a solid character, but with walls, insane, right? Just insane how much pressure he can do just by standing there, right? Because you don't even have to do the moves, you just have to stand there and the opponent will freak themselves out trying to get out of the wall, and you should be using that to your advantage. But you go for the rematch, which is fine. Let's continue and see how it goes. Oh, I got too far. Good punish. I don't think you can launch it. I know it's a slide, but I don't know if you can launch it. You'd have to check. Okay, so right here, right, we go back into this issue of you're running in to apply pressure. Why are you doing that? What advantage do you gain by running at the Ling and just throwing yourself at the Ling, right? Close the distance, sure, but don't run in to apply pressure so easily, because your opportunities are going to be coming from the opponent overextending. And what does the opponent now have to do, right? You have a huge life lead. They need to catch up, and the clock is ticking. So they're going to approach you. They're going to start throwing buttons at you. They're going to start overextending. And what do you have to do? Nothing, right? The opponent will just be coming your way because they have to chase you down. And that is where Paul shines, right? He's got all these great keep out tools. He's got all these moves that are just like do stuff on counter hit if the opponent presses into it. So this is where you start letting them dash in at you, then you do Corso go forward 3, letting them dash in at you, you do down forward 2, letting them dash in at you, you do Corso go back 4, etc., 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 right? Don't rush in. Don't rush in and throw away your advantage, your biggest advantage of they have to approach you and you can leverage that, right? You are cornering the opponent in a way. Yeah, the opponent is not backed against a wall, but they are in a situation where they have to approach you, right? Otherwise, you just let the clock run out and take the win. That's it. It worked out, so it's not the end of the world. But again, I think the principle of the matter is what's more important here. You are more likely to be in a... Oh, okay, so that's the... What the fuck is that move? So this is... So I don't know what the input is for 4-3. Yeah, okay. So she did this. It's -5 on block, but she's back turned. It's hard for me to say. I would check with like a Ling player, see if you can punish that with back 1-2. But I would just do shoulder, right? At worst case. I would just shoulder. Because I could have sworn there was a move that I punished. But I can't remember. Yeah, it is what it is. Anyway, yeah, it's not the move. Oh, that's weird. But yeah. That one, make sure you launch it. Good break. And so we go back into, right, if you had just either blocked or just waited, right, you would have launched the Ling, right? Anytime they're face down and they do the low, it's launch punishable. Oh, shit. See, and that's the other thing you run into of like, that's the awkwardness. Nice. Use this move way more. You need to be using down 1 way more. Don't use the string. The string is shit, right? Down 1 will save you, right? Down 1 will open up a lot of opportunities. Like right here, down 1. Yeah, that's tough. That is tough. Nice. Unfortunate. Practice on the combo. Yeah, so that's the thing with Cali roll, right? Like she recovers a lot faster than it seems, right? So I think I'm 90% sure that back 1+4 is what you do. He doesn't know. Oh no, this is where it happens. Nice. Okay. Yeah, so that's the thing, right? This is not guaranteed against Ling, right? This setup works on nearly every character in the game except 4, right? Want to say Lucky Chloe. Well, let me just look this up because I know we've talked about it before. Okay. Guaranteed on everyone else. Okay, so this situation, right? Gotta be careful. Master Raven. Flipper. Okay. Tired. Anyway. 3-2 back 1+2 works on every character in the game except the 2Ds when they have meter because they have invincible reversal options. Xiaoyu and Lucky Chloe because they have specific really evasive back turn options, and Master Raven because she has a back turn parry, right? So you have to be very careful in here. Against Xiaoyu, you can do... Oh, I don't even think you can do shoulder. Okay, so you should be able to do 3-2 back down 1+2 into shoulder, right? And that should be able to avoid any sort of shenanigans, right? You're not gonna have to worry about getting hit out of it because 3-2 back 1-2 is not guaranteed. And even if they don't know specifically that they can get out of this setup with back turn 3, Lings by themselves, once they're in back turn, that's their natural habitat, dude. They're going to be like, oh, well, he's going to press something, I'm just going to do back turn 4. And back turn 4 starts up in like 13, 15 frames, like pretty fast, right? So you got to be ready for that. Unfortunate, it is what it is. An absolute tragedy. Yeah, see, so like right there, it's exactly what I was talking about, right? If she goes for another Cali roll, it's over. And I think she just gets a lot of momentum and steams rolls you here. Okay. So, that's a weird... Okay. Neutral combos slash... or punishment slash matchup knowledge, combo slash Oki, personal opinion stuff. Neutral. I've talked about it here and there, but I think you're just overcommitting on your offense and your Oki and when you don't need to be. You're pressing into a lot of stuff and you just need to wait and start recognizing. Even you don't need to know this matchup back and forth, like this Ling isn't doing crazy shit, because once they start using down back 2, then we're in trouble, right? That shit's unseeable. It is really annoying low to deal with, right? That's where you're just kind of like, oh god, right? So yeah, you're not too worried about that shit. What you really need to be doing is just slowing down your offense, focusing on the common punishable situations, practicing specific punishes, because Cali Roll will eat people alive, right, if you're not ready. So you just got to be careful, and that's the really tricky thing, right, about like these specific punishes, because your default options, which are very consistent, right, just unfortunately don't work here. And that's just how the matchup goes, right? Not every matchup is going to be super consistent all the time. So focusing more on that, slowing down so that when she does all this punishable shit she's doing, you're ready with the punish. There's not really much else to say with neutral. I'll talk about more in personal opinion stuff about tools I think you need to be using way more, but focusing more on singular pokes without overextending yourself and just chipping away at your opponent so that they feel cornered into approaching you, right? And once they start approaching you, once they start throwing out all these buttons, that's when your opportunities will rise up, because you'll get punishment opportunities, which is where Paul's gonna really shine. Excuse me. Punishment slash matchup knowledge, talked about it with neutral. I just think you need to brush up on the more common punishment situations. As far as matchup knowledge goes, it's really just you got to slow down your pace and start recognizing when the Ling is really overextending. And I think that's like the big crucial step for you right now, right? You don't need to worry about labbing Oki setups. This Ling in particular wasn't doing any crazy shit. I think first you want to get rid of, you want to focus more on how do I punish their bad habits, right? And stuff like that. And then you can worry about how the fuck do I get out of these specific or Oki situations. Or she has like some annoying throw situation where if you don't fall properly, she'll launch you. It's really annoying. That is definitely there, but that's up to you, man, right? The matchup knowledge and how well versed you are in this matchup in these specific situations will always be there. But I think the first step for you would be consistently punishing and whiff punishing in particular as well, right? Like I've talked about the launching and stuff like that, but I think whiff punishing and knowing when to, okay, I can go for a big whiff punish here, or you go for just kind of a quick poke and still get in your damage because it's free damage, right? The opponent isn't recovering in time to start low parrying you or backdashing or blocking, right? It's free damage, and even something like Corsical 4-3, it does respectable damage. It does 17 damage, right? And being able to utilize that to your advantage. Combo / Oki. I think there were some combo drops, like unfortunate. There's not really much else to say besides continuing practicing them. Oki really goes more in line with what I was talking about in neutral, right? There are times where the best Oki you can do is nothing, right? You just wait, your opponent does something really stupid and punishable, and then you punish them. You rinse and repeat until they slow down and they're like, all right, fuck, I'm not going to press anything. I'm just going to stay on the ground. And then you start applying all your stuff, right? Personal opinion stuff, options that I think are neat, but your mileage may vary. Down 1 is your friend. Down 1 hits AOP, it hits play dead, it hits relax, it hits everything. It's got really good range. It tracks really well if the opponent tries to do sidestep left, right? Stuff like that. And you want to be able to just very low commitment, very fast, hard to interrupt, just keep chipping away at them. Anytime that they think they can start their offense or whiff buttons for free, you just do down 1. And it seems pretty innocuous, right? I think it does pretty decent damage. 16 damage is pretty solid. But you're like, oh, well, I'm not really getting this heavy damage out of my punishment. It's like, yeah, welcome to the Ling matchup, right? You're not typically going to always be getting like these crazy punishment opportunities. The goal is that you're not overextending, as we saw in the final round where you do back 1-2, you do back 1-2 again, or you do back 1-2, the Ling just does Kali roll again and you die. So long range pokes with good vertical hitboxes that offer very little commitment on your end, which is the goal here, right? How can you maximize your potential with the least amount of commitment or risk? And a lot of times that's just going to be a little quick chip in poke. That's just how it be, man. Other options that I think are neat. Corsical 4-3, which you were using, try to use that a bit more. Remember to mix up your timings with dash blocking and empty roll dashes if you want, right? But just continuing to chip in with that damage. You can use Corsical back 2 a bit more, but I think the hitbox can be awkward. Because if she does like the sidestep AOP, then you're fucked, because Corsical back 2 is pretty linear. And then using 3-2 for long range whiff punishes that you're not sure on, but it's a respectable damage. It's a decent whiff punish. It's got pretty long range. So stuff like that. Just tightening up the punishes, tightening up the Oki and the overcommitment on applying your offense, which is I think the real crux of what's getting you killed. Everything else is like fine. Like you're not too uber aggressive. You're not utilizing a bunch of random ass strings. I just think you're overcommitting in areas where you don't need to, and it's getting you killed. There's not really that many crazy other personal options that I'm like, wow, this tool is really neat in this matchup. It's just gotta play super solid. You gotta play very, very minimal, right? And it seems really annoying, right? It's like, oh god, I have to like basically shut myself off. I can't play Tekken against Ling, and like, yeah, that's just what this matchup is, right? You have to. You're not playing Tekken. You're playing Ling's version of it, and there are specific nuances to that you have to adjust to, right? The trade-off is that at the end of the day, Paul is just still a better character than Ling, right? He's not going to match her in the Oki department, right? But what does Ling have that comes anywhere close to like Corsical back 4, Corsical back 1, back 1-2, stuff like that, right? And by slowing down the pace of the match and focusing more on the Ling overextending, you'll quickly see like your consistent damage is going to give you more opportunities and more wins than this Ling just throwing everything in the kitchen sink at you, right? Yeah, that's really all I got for this. Sorry, I know it took a while. Just never got around to it. If you have questions, let me know. If there are more specific things you're like, hey, what do I do in this situation, stuff like that, feel free to ask. Feel free to ask in the Paul Discord as well. And tighten up those punishes and be a bit more passive in your offense, right? Don't be super aggressive, just be passive, wait for an opportunity, and that can either be a whiff punish, that can either be a block punish, that can either be I just poke in with Corsical 4-3, and that's perfectly fine, right? It's about when it comes to being super minimal and super like risk averse, like avoiding risk, right? That playstyle much better suits Paul than Ling, and I feel like you'll be able to really see that once the matchup is slowed down enough because you're consistently punishing her. All right, man. Stay safe. Let me know if you have any questions.